Hi dear students, in this video lecture we discuss in detail about joints. Joints, as you know, are thrown. What is definition of joints? Joint is a junction between two or more bones or cartilages. Basically it is a device to permit movements. There are more joints in a child than in an adult because as growth proceeds, some of the bones fuse together. For example, ilium, ischium and pubis to form the pelvic bone, and the two halves of the infant frontal bone and of the infant mandible, the 5 sacral vertebrae and the 4 coccygeal vertebrae. Classification of joints. We discuss under these headings: structure classification, functional classification, then regional classification, and then according to the number of the articulating bones. Now let's start with structure classification. Fibrous joints include sutures, syndesmosis, gymphosis. Cartilaginous joints include primary cartilaginous or synchondrosis and secondary cartilaginous joint or symphysis. Third, synovial joints include ball and socket or spheroidal joints, sellar or saddle joints, condylar, bicondylar joints, ellipsoid joints, hinge joints, pivot or trochoid joints, and plane joints. Now we discuss in detail these types. First of all, fibrous joints. In fibrous joints, bones are joined by the fibrous tissue. These joints are either immobile or permit a slight degree of the movements. They can be grouped in the following 3 subtypes. Sutures. They are peculiar to the skull and immobile. According to the shape of the bone margins, the suture can be plain, for example internasal suture, serrate, for example interparietal suture, squamous, for example temporoparietal sutures, denticulate, for example lambdoid suture, and syndesmosis type, for example between rostrum of the sphenoid and upper body of the femur. Neonatal skull wheels frontalis, which are temporary in nature. At 6 specific points on the sutures in newborn skulls are membrane-filled gaps called frontalis. These allows the underlying brain to increase in size. Anterior frontalis is used to judge the hydration of the infant. All these frontalis becomes bones by 18 months. Syndesmosis. The bones are connected by the interosseous ligament. Example, inferior tibio-fibular joint. Third, gymphosis. Peg and socket joint. Example, root of the tooth in its bony socket. These are some examples. Type of the sutures. It shows plain suture, median palatine suture, interparietal suture, and this is between temporal and patellar bone. This is squamous suture. Look at these frontalis. Syndesmosis. Second, cartilaginous joints. In this type of the joints, bones are joined by cartilage. There are following 2 types. Primary cartilaginous joint, also called synchondrosis, or hyaline cartilaginous joints. Basically in this type, the bones are united by a plate of hyaline cartilage so that joint is immobile and strong. These joints are basically temporary in nature because after a certain age the cartilaginous plate is replaced by the bone. Synostosis. Examples: joints between epiphysis and diaphysis of a growing long bone, spino-occipital joints, first chondrosternal joint, and costochondral joints. These are basically examples of primary cartilaginous joints. Now look at secondary cartilaginous joints, also known as symphysis or fibrocartilaginous joints. The articular surfaces are covered by a thin layer of the hyaline cartilage and united by disc of the fibrocartilage. Examples: symphysis pubis, manubriosternal joint, and intervertebral joints between the vertebral bodies. These are the examples of secondary cartilaginous joints. Comparison table: primary and secondary cartilaginous joints. In primary cartilaginous joints, basically bones are connected by hyaline cartilage, and in secondary cartilaginous, bones are connected by white fibrocartilage. In primary cartilaginous joints, there is no movement, but in secondary cartilaginous joint, limited movement. In primary cartilaginous joints, epiphyseal cartilage of the growing long bone, and this is present in joints in the middle line. These are some examples of primary cartilaginous and secondary cartilaginous symphysis joints. Oh, look at this. Synovial joints, that is third classification. Synovial joints are most evolved and therefore most mobile type of the joints. We classify synovial joints and their movement as follows. This is type of joints and these are the movements. Plane or gliding type, fast gliding movement, uniaxial joint. B include hinge joint, flexion extension movement, pivot joint, rotation only. C biaxial joints include condylar joint, movement, flexion extension and limited rotation. Number 2 ellipsoid joint, movement include flexion, extension, abduction, adduction and circumduction. D multi-axial joints include saddle joints, flexion, extension, abduction, adduction and conjunct rotation. 2 ball and second joint, flexion, extension, abduction and adduction, circumduction and rotation. What is the character? Articular subsets are covered with the hyaline articular cartilage, fibrocartilage in certain membrane bones. Articular cartilage is avascular, non-nervous and elastic. Lubricated with synovial fluid, the cartilage provides slippery surfaces for free movements like ice on ice. Number 2. Between the articular surfaces there is a joint cavity filled with the synovial fluid. The cavity may be partially or completely subdivided by an articular disc or meniscus. 3. The joint is surrounded by an articular capsule which is made up of the fibrous capsule lined by the synovial membrane. Because of its rich nerve supply, the fibrous capsule is sensitive to stretches imposed by the movements. This sets up appropriate reflexes to protect the joint from any sprain. This is called as watchdog action of the capsule. Look at this. Basically, when you can say joint is surrounded by the articular capsule, and you can say fibrous capsule that is lined by synovial membrane. Because of its rich nerve supply, fibrous capsule is basically sensitive to stretches imposed by the movements. This stretches basically set up appropriate reflexes to protect the joint from any sprain, and this phenomena is called as watchdog action of the capsule. You can say it is basically protective phenomena. Structure of the synovial joint: articular cartilage, fibrous capsule, then synovial membrane, and then joint cavity containing synovial fluid. Basically, the fibrous capsule is often reinforced by the capsular two ligament representing thickening of the fibrous capsule and the accessory ligament which may be intra or extracapsular. The synovial membrane lines holes of the interior of the joint except for the articular surface covered by the hyaline cartilage. The membrane secretes a slimy viscous fluid called the synovia or the synovial fluids which lubricates the joint and nourishes the articular cartilage. The viscosity of the fluid is due to the hyaluronic acid secreted by the cells of the synovial membrane. Varying degrees of the movements are always permitted by the synovial joints. Classification of the synovial joints. Look at this. Number 1. Plain synovial joints. In this type, articular surfaces are flat. They permit gliding movements in waist direction. For example, intercarpal joints, intertarsal joints, joints between articular processes of vertebra, cricothyroid joints, cricoarytenoid joint, superior tibiofibular, the intercondylar joints, and costovertebral joint, then costotransverse, then acromioclavicular with interarticular disc. Also includes carpometacarpal joint except first tarsometatarsal, intermetacarpal, condosternal except first, and then sacroiliac joints. These are all plain synovial joints. Number 2. Hinge joints. Ganglimus. Articular surfaces are pulley shaped. They are strongly collateral ligaments Movements are permitted in only one plane around a transverse axis. Examples include elbow joints, ankle joints, and interphalangeal joints. These are examples of hinge joints. Number 3. Pivot joints. Trochoid joints. Articular surfaces comprise the central bony pivot surrounded by an osteoligamentous ring. Movements are permitted in one plane on a vertical axis. Examples: superior and inferior radioulnar joints and median atlantoaxial joints. These are the examples of pivot joints. Number 4. Condylar joints, or you can say bicondylar. Articular surfaces include two distinct condyles, convex male surfaces fitting into a reciprocally concave female surface, which are also sometimes known as condyles, such as in tibia. These joints permit movements mainly in one plane around a transverse axis, but partly in another plane rotation around a vertical axis. Example: knee joint, and then right and left jaw joints are temporomandibular joints. These are examples of condylar joints. What are the male surface and female surface? Male surface, an articulating surface which is larger in surface area and always convex in all directions. Female surface, an articulating surface which is smaller and concave in all directions. Number 5. Ellipsoid joints. Basically, articular surfaces include an oval convex male surface fitting into an elliptical concave female surface. Free movements are permitted around both axes: flexion and extension around the transverse axis and abduction and adduction around the anterior-posterior axis. Combination of movement basically produces circumduction. Typical rotation around the third axis does not occur. Examples of ellipsoid joints include Uris joint, metacarpophalangeal joints, and then atlanto-occipital joints. Number 6. Saddle joint. You also called it as saddle joints. Articular surfaces are reciprocally concave or convex. Movements are similar to those permitted by an ellipsoid joint, with addition of some rotation around the third axis, which however cannot occur independently. Examples of saddle joints: first carpometacarpal joints, then sternoclavicular joints, calcaneocuboid joints, inguinalomellular joints, and between femur and patella. These are all saddle joints. Saddle joints. Look at these carpometacarpal joints of thumb. Number 7. Ball and socket or spheroidal joints. Articular surfaces include a globular head male surface fitting into a cup-shaped socket female surface. As you know, female surface is always concave and male surface is convex. Movements occur around an indefinite number of axes which have one common center. Flexion, extension, abduction, adduction, medial rotation, lateral rotation, and circumduction all occur quite freely. Examples include shoulder joint, hip joint, talocalcaneonavicular joint, and incudostapedial joints. Look at these: ball and socket joint, hip joint, shoulder joint, this two ball socket joint. B. Functional classification according to the degree of the mobility. We classify according to functional classification joints as synorthosis, immobile like fibrous joint; amphiorthosis, slightly mobile like cartilaginous joints; and diorthosis, pre-movable like synovial joints. Synorthosis are fixed joints at which there is no movement. The articular surfaces are joined by the tough fibrous tissue. Often the edges of the bones are dovetailed into one another as in the sutures of the skull. Number 2. Amphiorthosis are joints at which slight movement is possible. Basically, in functional classification, we classify joints according to the degree of mobility. In amphiorthosis, a pad of the cartilage lie between the bony surfaces and their fibrous cartilage to hold the bones and cartilage in place. The cartilage of the such joints also act as shock absorber. For example, intervertebral disc between the bodies of the vertebra, where the cartilage is strengthened by the extra collagenous tissue fibers. Number 3. Diorthosis or synovial joints are basically known as pre-immobile joints. Though at some of them the movement is restricted by the shape of the articulating surface and by the ligaments which hold the bones together. These ligaments have elastic connective tissue. A synovial joint has a fluid-filled cavity between the articular surfaces which are covered by the articular cartilage. The fluid known as synovial fluid produced by the synovial membrane which lines the cavity except for the articular surfaces and covers any cartilage or tendons which pass through the joint. Synovial fluid acts as a basically lubricant. The form of the articulating surface controls the type of the movement which takes place at any joint. The movement possible at synovial joints are angular, includes flexion, decreasing the angle between the two bones. Extension means increasing the angle between the two bones. Abduction, moving the part away from the midline. Adduction, bringing the part towards the midline. Rotation, turning upon axis. Circumduction, moving the extremity of the part around in a circle so that the whole part inscribes a cone. Gliding, one part slides on another. Regional classification. Number 1, skull type, immobile, vertebral type. Number 2, slightly mobile, and then number 3, limb type, freely movable. D, according to the number of the articulating bones, include simple joint, when two bones articulate, for example interphalangeal joints. Compound joint, more than two bones articulate within one capsule, for example elbow joints, wrist joint. And number 3, complex joints, when the joint cavity is divided by an intra-articular disc, for example temporomandibular joint and sternoclavicular joints. These are the examples. These are the divisions of the joints according to the number of the articulating bones. Now we have completed our classification. Now we discuss mechanism of lubrication of the synovial joint. Number 1, synovial fluid secreted by the synovial membrane is sticky and viscous due to the hyaluronic acid mucopolysaccharide. It serves the main function of the lubrication of the joint but also nourishes the articular cartilage. Number 2, hyaline cartilage covering the articular surfaces possesses inherent slipperiness like that of the ice. In number 3, interarticular fibrocartilages, articular disc or menisci, complete or incomplete, help in separating the synovial fluid throughout the joint cavity, but particularly between the articular surfaces, for example temporomandibular joints. And number 4, Hawaiian fatty pads, you called it as Hawaiian glands, occupy extra spaces in the joint cavity between the incongruous bony surfaces. All of them are covered with the synovial membrane and perhaps function as a swabs to spread the synovial fluid. Bursa is a synovial fluid filled bag in relation to the joint and bone to prevent friction. The inflammation of the bursa is called bursitis. Now we discuss joint position. When the joint surface becomes completely congruent, their area of the contact is maximal and they are tightly compressed. Basically, in this position, the fibrous capsule and ligaments are maximally tense. No further movements is possible. Surface cannot be separated by the disruptive forces. Articular surfaces are liable to then trauma. These are basically closed back position. Now look at these closed back position of the joints. Temporomandibular joint, closed back position, clenched teeth, spine, extension, shoulder, abduction and lateral rotation, elbow extension, wrist extension with radial deviation, trapeziometacarpal joint, none, metacarpophalangeal flexion, finger and apposition of thumb, interphalangeal extension, hip extension and medial rotation, knee extension with locking, ankle dorsiflexion, subtalar mid-tarsal inversion, and metatarsobphalangeal and interphalangeal joints extension. These are basically closed back position of various joints. So you learn these positions when you practice on yourself. Loose back position. All other positions of incongruency. Examples: least back position, shoulder semi-abduction, hip semi-flexion, knee semi-flexion, then ankle plantar-flexion. Limitation of movement factors. Factors include reflex contraction of the antagonistic muscles due to stimulation of mechanoreceptors in the articulating tissues and ligaments tension and approximation of the soft parts. Blood supply of the synovial joints. The articular and epiphyseal branches given off by the neighboring arteries form an periarticular arterial plexus. Numerous vessels from this plexus pieces the fibrous capsule and then form a rich vascular plexus in the deeper part of the synovial membrane. The blood vessels of the synovial membrane terminate around the articular margins in a fringe of looped anastomosis termed as circus vasculus or circulus articularis vasculus. It supplies capsule, synovial membrane and the epiphysis. Articular cartilage is avascular. After epiphyseal fusion, communication between the circulus vasculus and the end arteries of the metaphysis are established, thus minimizing the chances of osteomyelitis in metaphysis. This is basically blood supply. Periarticular arterial complexes, circus articularis vasculosis. Then articular cartilage, basically avascular, fibrous capsular ligament, poor blood supply, and synovial membrane have rich blood supply. Nerve supply of the synovial joints. The capsular ligament possess a rich nerve supply which make them acutely sensitive to the pain. The synovial membrane has a poor nerve supply and is relatively insensitive to pain. The articular cartilage is non-nervous and totally insensitive. Look at this. Articular cartilage is non-nervous and totally insensitive, and articular nerves contain sensory and autonomic fibers. Some of the sensory fibers are proprioceptive in nature. These are sensitive to position and movement and concerned with the reflex control of the posture and locomotion. Other sensory fibers are sensitive to pain. Autonomic fibers are vasomotor or vasosensory. Joint pain is often diffuse and may be associated with nausea, vomiting, slowing of pulse and falling blood pressure. The pain commonly causes reflex contraction of the muscles which fix the joint in position of maximum comfort. Like visceral pain, joint pain is also refers to the uninvolved joints. The principles of the distribution of the nerves to the joints were first described by the Hilton in 1891. Hilton law basically states that a motor nerve to the muscle acting on a joint tend to give a branch to that joint or capsule and another branch to the skin covering the joint. Thus, the pattern of the innervation is concerned with the maintenance of an efficient stability at the joint. Nerve supply. Basically, capsule and ligaments receive an abundant sensory nerve supply, and Hilton states that nerve supplying a joint also supplies the muscle moving that joint and the skin overlying the insertion of these muscles. This is basically Hilton law. Lymphatic drainage of the synovial joints. Lymphatics form a plexus in the subintima of the synovial membrane and drain along the blood vessels to the regional deep nodes. Stability of the synovial joints. The various factors maintaining stability at a joint are described here in order of their importance. Number 1. Muscles. The tone of the different group of the muscles acting on the joint is the most important and indispensable factor in maintaining the stability. Without muscles, the knee and shoulder would be unstable and arches of the foot would collapse. How important muscle is. Number 2. Ligaments are important in preventing any over movement and in guarding against certain accidental stresses. However, they don't help against a continuous strain because once stretched, they tend to remain elongated. In this respect, the elastic ligaments, ligamentum flava, and ligaments of the joints of the auditory ossicles are superior to the common type of the wide fibrous ligaments. But the bones basically help in maintaining stability only in firm type of the joints, like the hip and the ankle. Otherwise, in most of the joints like shoulder, knee, sacroiliac, their role is negligible. Now we discuss clinical anatomy. Intervertebral disc forms scandic cartilaginous joints between the bodies of the vertebra. If the nucleus pulposus, that is the central part of the disc, gets protruded backwards, it may pass on the spinal nerve leaving out from the intervertebral foramen. This condition is known as herniation of the disc or disc prolapse. The disc prolapse occurs in the lumbar sacral nerves. There is a radiating pain in the lower limb. This condition is called as sciatica. The joints may get dislocated. For example, that is, ends of the one of the bones get out of its socket. In subluxation, end of the bones partially leaves its socket. Rheumatic fever causes fleeting pain in the joints. accompanied by the streptococcal pharyngitis. It is most temporary pain in the joints. The toxins of the bacteria may affect the mitral wall of the heart or the kidneys. Rheumatoid arthritis is an inflammatory systemic disease involving the synovial membranes of the small joints of the hands. Due to chronic inflammatory process, there is a deformity of the fingers. Osteoarthritis is a degenerative condition of the large weight-bearing joints. The articular cartilage wears out, degenerates, and there is formation of the bifold osteophytes. The patient feels lots of pain due to rubbing of the bones together during movements of the joints. Degenerative changes or spondylitis occurs in the cervical spine, leading to the narrowing intervertebral foramen, causing pressure on the spinal nerves. This is basically spondylitis, which degenerative changes occurs in the cervical spine. This is a table of comparison between osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis. Look at this. According to age and joints disorder and initial damage and the systemic disease. In osteoarthritis, middle age, single large weight bearing joint, and degenerative articular cartilage, systemic disease none, ESR normal, and rheumatic factor absent. But in rheumatoid arthritis, it affects any age, multiple small joints of the hand and feet, inflammatory synovial membranes, and systemic disease, ESR raised, and anemia plus rheumatic factor present. There may be injury to the waist structures in the joints. At times, the medial meniscus of the knee joint may get injured. In this case, it need to be removed. The metaphysis, the ends of the diaphysis or the shaft is the actively growing end of the bone. In some joints, the capsule encloses the metaphysis as well. In such cases, infection from the metaphysis would reach the joint cavity and causes septic arthritis. There may be fractures into the joint spaces leading to the collection of the blood and broken pieces of the ends of the bones in the joint cavity. If the joints have been diseased for a very long time with no hope of the recovery, these must be replaced. The X-ray shows replace hip joints and knee joints. This is basically right hip joint replacement, and this is both knee joint replacement. Thank you. Hopefully you all like very much.